Whatever is in your enthusiasm, I'll take a case of it. Well, Jason lived with his parents and I was like borderline homeless. If a company's like, hey, we're gonna give you some guitars, we're like, pile it up, pile it up.
Yeah, because you guys were playing the 𝙃𝘖 guitars too, right? Then you had the CARVIN V220s.
Dude, you know your stuff, yeah. And I'm the same way about gear as I am now. I just really don't care. I want something that works. There's guys who like, they think, okay, I'll do a half-step bend or something and I'll sound like Marty. No, it's not that simple. One thing I remember about Dave is he's the king of the sound bites. I'm in the position where I can do exactly what I love and I don't have to compromise.
Hey everybody, it's Derek over at Masters of Shred, and we are here for a very, very special episode of Pages in Time that you are not going to believe. So before I get into it, you do me a favor, hit that subscribe button, shred the notification bell, like this video, share it with a friend. We are about to make history on this platform. Show your support without opening your wallet. Now let's just get right to it. Before I introduce this guest of honor here, this absolute legend on the guitar, I want to paint the picture of what year we're going to go back to. We're going to go back to December 1991. And to give you an idea what was going on, here's a little bit of it, okay? We know that the Soviet Union and the Gulf War came to an end, and Terminator 2 terminated the competition, really, in the box office, being the highest grossing movie of the year, and guitar players had a big problem getting to the bottom of who brought the drill to the party, to the game. Was it Eddie Van Halen, or was it Paul Gilbert? And you guys may have heard about something else, because just a year prior, we were introduced to Megadeth's new, incredible virtuoso, a man that is here right now. So let me give him the proper introduction. You've probably seen him with the mighty Jason Becker. You've seen him with the mighty Megadeth. You've heard his incredible solo albums. He is one of the most ultra versatile shred extraordinaires guitarists. I'm gonna go straight out guitarist we have ever had on the platform. Give it up for the legendary, the shred icon, Marty Friedman. There
nice
we go.
To meet you. Thank you very much for that nice introduction. And I'm just sitting here admiring your guns.
Oh, no.
And I was going to tell you how much I really hate that term shred, but I'm looking at your guns and I think I like shredding now.
Shred made it work. We did it.
No, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I hate the term, but I realize that the term has a very complimentary meaning of the last maybe 5-10 years. But when I was a kid, shredding just meant that guy in the basement who plays so incredibly fast, but if you turn around and don't look at it, it sounds like shit. That's what I always associated the word shred with. So when people say, Marty Friedman, he's a shredder, I'm like, please don't, but like, since I'm looking at those guns, that's what shredding is. This dude is shredded right here. It's a bodybuilding term, right?
It is, though, yeah.
It is.
We do it in the gym and on the fretboard. It goes both ways. You got to have discipline, right? It goes with both. So, a little bit. But it's an honor to have you on here.
My pleasure.
And this show is going to be real simple. This is what we do. We revisit the classic magazine that our guests have graced the covers of. Any stories that come to mind, the photo shoots, the gear. Tell us about it. We want to know your insight to this moment in time, one page at a time.
Go for it.
So we're pulling out the 1991 December Guitar World magazine with you on the front cover with Dave Mustaine. Get a good shot of that bad boy. I didn't have this one in my collection, so I had to source it out online. You'd be surprised when people ask for these things. These guys are very hard to come by.
Whatever is in your enthusiasm, I'll take a case of it.
Oh,
it's very contagious.
I'm going to have to bottle that up then.
I love that, man.
Especially for today's show,
Maybe
right?
I should start working out, man.
We'll do this.
I love the guy's energy.
All right, thank you. I appreciate it. That means a lot to me. So here we go. Let's go hop into it. Let's talk about this photo cover right here. So you tell me, do you remember this photo shoot when you did this with Dave? I mean, you got your Jackson there. You got the killer guitar, the look, everything like that. What comes to mind when you did this?
I don't remember.
Okay.
Do you do this with a lot of different guys, taking them back to these kind of, and nobody remembers anything, right?
The only person to remember the photo shoot, I believe, was Zakk Wylde.
Oh, really?
He remembered the photo shoot, and Scotty Hill actually remembered the photo shoot from Skid Row. He remembered the photo shoot. And I think that was, everybody else kind of like a little hazy.
I'm like straining to think if there's anything I remember about this, and I can think that this t-shirt, it was a t-shirt that everybody in the band like wore this same T-shirt. There was like one shirt, and we passed it around.
No kidding.
Because I think we all thought it was a cool T-shirt, so I guess it was my day wearing it. We used to trade clothes all the time.
Well, I know you guys were big sneaker guys. You guys had the coolest old school. At the time, it wasn't old school. It was new school Nike high tops that had become so popular. It's crazy. There's actually pages on Instagram that take pictures of guys like you in the day, and they source out the sneaker that you were wearing.
No
Do you still
kidding.
have any of those old Nikes?
No. You know, it's the, who knows, man? I don't remember anything like that. I know we wore what a lot of companies came on board, and they gave us some really cool stuff.
Really?
And I never thought we were very fashion conscious. It's just like we wore what was there. Like I said, we wore the same T-shirt. And I remember us trading a lot. We put all the laundry in the same bag, and I guess sometimes you'd see a picture of one guy with one shirt, then you'd see the different guy with the same shirt in a different concert. I don't think anybody cared about that so much.
No, okay. Well, this is your first cover, though, right? We're the first guitar magazine that you were on the cover of, because you had done tapes. You had done instructional videos, but as far as the magazine world goes in the States, this was it, right?
I have no idea, but it could have been.
We'll have to go over that just for this one.
Yeah.
Because
I believe you, yeah.
Well, it'll make it a little
I believe
sweeter.
you.
Let's just hop right in. We'll go right into the first page. Got some Yamaha love. Bill Leverty, a Firehouse in there with his Pacificas. They were always cutting-edge guitars for that time. I always tell people that. They really went out, all the bells and whistles. A little bit of Skid Row love in there. Because we had Slave to the Grind came out right around this time, too. And soon after this, about 6 months, you'd be doing Countdown to Extinction. So people would get a whole nother onslaught of Friedman like they never had before, right?
I guess so.
Okay, we'll go with it. Got a little table of contents here. We got you there again, and they call you the captain in Tennille. So who was
the hell
Tennille
does
and
that
who was the
mean?
captain?
I don't know, but I really like the Captain and Tennille. They got some great songs.
Okay, so look at that. I got a little bit of the Zakk Wylde in there. Get ready, because this is a teaching issue. It's all about teaching in this one. We got a little bit of Andy Timmons. I love the ads. Look at the ads. Like, they really thought this stuff out. They really did. Killer Ibanez ad.
Do they still do ads like that now? I mean, the ad Jackson does great ads for what I'm doing now. I assume that, everybody's up their game since back in these days.
Well, you know what's funny is I think that we kind of lost some of that enthusiasm and magic in the guitar magazines today.
You need to get on the case, brother.
I may have to, because
I'm telling you right now.
There should be a little bit more enthusiasm like this stuff, and also Guitar Player magazine is done. No more physical copies, all online, which is a shame. We got some Robbins. You ever encounter any of those guitars back in the day at Texas? Still around. Crazy craftsmanship. I mean, stellars. You got some Eddie Van Halen love for the 5150, which never was a very groundbreaking amp, wasn't it? For metal, that was there any amp that sounded like that before that? Because you were rocking the crate Voodoos, the blue Voodoos for a little while, right?
Yeah, I had a crate. Before that, like, what is this, 1991?
Yeah, 1991.
I think I don't know, man. I was using, like, what's that? Bogner's.
Okay.
And my tech knows all that stuff.
I know you were in with ADA, right? You had
Well,
the ADA.
Listen, back in the early days, if some company's giving you something, you're taking it, because we're literally, Jason lived with his parents, and I was like borderline homeless. So like if a company's like, hey, we're going to give you some guitars, we're like, pile it up, anything. We're going to take you out to dinner. Let's go. That's what it was like, and that was the reality. So like I'm sure ADA was a similar situation.
Yeah, because you guys were playing the Hurricane guitars too, right? Hurricane you had, then you had the CARVIN V220s.
Dude, you know your stuff, yeah. And like gradually the companies got better and better, but when you're working your way into the music industry and you're slowly cultivating, then when some company's willing to support you, it's very appreciated, because, I think a lot of people who actually buy guitars and stuff are not the people who are out there playing. They're the people practicing at home. But the guys who are like touring and making indie records and doing that, they don't have money to buy guitars and gear. So when a company is so nice to seek you out and say, we like what you do enough that we're going to give you 2 guitars or 4 guitars a year, we're going to do ads on you, it's really not that much about the quality control. It's all about, if I get this guitar, I can eat for a couple months.
Right.
So that was the reality.
No kidding. Did that kind of change when you got in Megadeth?
It definitely did. At that time, it was like as soon as I joined Megadeth, it was a major band, Then all of the major companies came, and then I could choose. But even then, I'm the same way about gear as I am now. I just really don't care. I want something that works.
Right.
So I had my tech back then plan an entire rig for me, get the best stuff, and I was off to the races.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow. And we got Jason Becker right here too.
Oh, good
Your
for
partner
him.
in
That's
crime
great.
with
Yes.
6 strings.
Yeah.
A little mini guitar. He always had the coolest pants. Those denim jeans he
His
had. were
dad
just,
drew those.
No
His
kidding.
dad does the artwork for that.
That
He's
is
a
so awesome.
fantastic artist.
Wow, that is so cool. I love to see stuff like that. And then we got some Gibson love in here with Dickie Betts.
This is
Les
a
Paul
neat idea
classic.
going through these.
Right? It's
Yeah.
just a blast in the past. I mean, I started collecting these years ago, and I used to do them one at a time, and then we've been fortunate enough to where we had a viewer sent a huge box. Thank you again to that guy. And if you guys have issues and you want a good home for them where they'll live on forever in moments like these, DM us, send us a message, email. We'd love to give them a good home. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like this stuff I was reading too, Maxwell cassette tapes, telling you that they made the windows smaller to make the cassette more robust and the sound quality better. Like, who would have thought of this? I mean, it's just crazy. And you got the fighter jet here. I mean, again, effort, right? Oh, there's Dave Mustaine right there. And I'm talking about Nikes. You see those? I've been watching these sneakers. You guys were high on that sneaker game. This was a sounding board. This was basically a place for disgruntled fans to come and voice their opinion. AKA today would be called social media. But then you had to go submit this and write it out. And boy, some people are pretty ruthless. A lot of opinions. Everyone's got one, it seems. But we'll kind of skim through that a little bit quicker than I would want to go through there. Let's see here. We got some Samson stuff, some Martin stuff. About to get in the articles. A little Joan Jett love here. I thought this one too is pretty funny. Guitarist Rick Derringer's fiance of 2 years. They got married, and John Bon Jovi was in attendance with Joey Ramone, and they said it was a shotgun wedding. So, the little things that guitarists always want to know about, like that, you know, that's very important to them. 𝙀𝘎 𝙀𝙀, bit of that stuff. And you know, here's the thing too. Sometimes people will say to me, "Hey, you skipped over this artist. You didn't see that guy on the page. Why don't you talk about him?" We're limited on time here, and I want to get to the juicy, good stuff. We have limited time here with the guests. You guys can go check it out, you know, if you want to review it, and let us know your thoughts on it. All right, just give me some slack.
Every time I get asked to do a message on social media, I'm going to call you and ask you to do it for me.
I'm down for that.
I'm just like so energized by your presence.
I got that effect on people. Sometimes. Sometimes.
I love it.
So I got a little bit more here. Got some John Mooney. Got some Criss Olivia of Savatoge. Very cool. Did you ever listen to their stuff from that time?
Sadly, no, I'm not familiar with a lot of that.
They were out of Florida. Brother and duo. Brother sang, he played guitar. Great band, super experimental. Around this time, their album came out. Rock opera they put out called Streets, I believe it was. And that was why they were getting a lot of coverage. But he had a sad passing in 1994, driving to a show with his girlfriend at 3 o'clock in the morning in his Mazda RX-7. Drunk driver in a truck, hit him dead on, broke the lane, killed him. And what makes it crazier is that guy apparently did 18 months. And he had tons, a rap sheet of DUIs before that event happened. Sad, because people talk about what a great guitar. He was a great guitarist. So we have a lot of coverage of that in here. He was a Charvel Jackson guy too. Let's see, got a little Bruce Boulez. And this is actually really cool about Bruce because this was his big step away from Racer X and doing his own stuff. And he actually talked about feeling, you know, very unnatural playing at warp speed next to Paul Gilbert because he was trying to keep up with it. They practiced 24 hours a day just to keep up with him, which is wild. Now, he played with Paul. You played with Jason Becker. You guys can kind of be compared, the duos, at least in that sense, but you guys, all you guys are phenomenal players. Did you ever kind of feel like that when you were playing with Jason? You guys were like, did it come naturally to play like that, or did it take a lot of effort from you guys? What would you say?
I think what happens when you got like guys who are, I don't know the word, but kind of like players who have a lot to say, usually harmony comes into the equation at some time, and you need to find a person to play the harmonies with you live and in the studio. You know, doing it all by yourself doesn't allow you to layer a lot of things when you're playing live. And so I'm sure that was the case. It was definitely the case for me, because when I met Jason, I knew that if anyone was going to be able to perform my harmonies live, this was the guy right here. and he just blossomed so incredibly fast. I mean, I was growing like this, but Jason was growing like this. It was just uncanny. So just to watch that growth right in front of me was just absolutely unbelievable. And yeah, I think, you know, when you have a lot to say, you need a lot of people to say it, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's very true.
Yeah.
Super, super cool. We got a little bit of Epiphone love in here, and here we go, some Johnny Winter. Johnny Winter is a great guitar player. We're not getting too much detail. This is actually the guitar player that people give me some slack about. You pass Johnny Winter, you don't say nothing? Great blues player. So there it is. I said it. All right. Go to the next one. We got some Diodario love here. Who's the Boss? Talking about their strings. We got some Fender M80s. Do you ever see an M80? I see them on the used market now, popping up on like Facebook Marketplace for very low prices, and I'm intrigued by the massive, immense 80s-ness and 90s-ness of the styling that I almost want to get one, but I'm not sure if it sounds good. It's a solid state, but it's definitely supposed to be shreddy.
You're speaking Greek to me, my friend.
Okay, we're going to get out of there. We're going to leave that scene. Oh, here we go. Savatoge. There it is. Streets, a rock opera. Again, they're getting that push. Album's coming out, getting pretty hot. Got some Zakk Wylde GHS string love here. We all know who did that. Dennis Klein did that finish on his Les Paul for him. Loving the hair.
Great hair, man.
He has some good hair. Now, do you prefer Zakk Wylde with that kind of perm hair or with his straight hair that came soon after?
You know,
these are the serious
I don't have an
questions we need
opinion
to
on
ask.
that. I just know he's a fantastic guitar player, super dude, and just an awesome, awesome guitar player.
He really is. Really nice guy. And we got some clothes here. You know, mail away to get those. We got some articles for the Mighty Rush doing their album at the time. Flesh and Bones. Heard some good things. Uh-oh, who's that? Uh-oh, okay, now, you must remember this. You're literally surfing a couch.
I do remember this, and you know what? It's not photoshopped. I was actually standing on a couch like that.
So did they lift the couch up? Because you
forgot
can't
how
see that.
I forgot how they did it, but I remember it was quite difficult because you're literally standing like that, and you got to make a pose that doesn't look as uncomfortable as reality. So yeah, I remember doing this, and it took quite some time, and the people arranging it were very, very professional about it.
No kidding.
Yeah,
and
I remember that.
You still have that Jackson?
No, that was one of the guitars I auctioned off for the earthquake and tsunami thing in 2011.
I heard a little bit about that. I read about that. And again, I think you're wearing some Nikes there.
I'm sure I was.
Nikes.
Yeah, that was
You guys
really,
are swapping
really,
clothes
really
out.
cool.
Yeah. Very cool ad. Always like that. Get more action from your Jackson. SansAmp. This is a really cool ad because this was in the world before modelers of today. You kind of had this thing that had all the amps in one. And then I did a little bit more research. You have a signature SansAmp.
I have a Tech21. It's just made a brand new signature Marty pedal that is, it's like what I've been wanting for many, many years, and it took like 6 years to develop this thing. All you do is plug it in, and it sounds like what I sound like. Sort of. I mean, because it's half of it is like in your hands, obviously. But like, I only use one pedal live. I use what's called an auto filter, and I use it on just about 0. Everything's set on 0. So the sound, they captured my sound through my signature Engl amp and that auto filter, and you can get it right now going direct with this new pedal from Tech21, which they really went overboard and did a great job with.
We should get that pedal on the platform because you know what? I looked this up and I discovered that by accident. Someone sent me a list of their items from their store, Incognito Guitars. Big shout out to you out of Georgia there. And I saw that was the first item on there. I go, wait, Marty Friedman's got a signature pedal?
But they just announced it at NAMM.
Oh, they did? I was going to say,
announced it.
because I haven't seen any videos for it. I'm like, I actually looked up videos. I want to hear this thing because that's incredible.
I don't even know if you can get it yet. They just announced it at NAMM.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to have to get one of those. That's
Yeah.
really cool. And the
And
fact that you
play
stood
it.
behind it, I'm sold.
Not
Very
only
cool.
did I stand behind it, but I went, well, like last year when we were on tour, we were in New York, and I took a whole separate trip to like play and deal with like, you know, capturing things and some of my phrases that trigger the sonic waves, and I don't know the technical things in there, but all I wanted was, like, instead of having to bring a whole big wall of amps, I wanted a box that you plug in, so if you're playing like on the radio or on a TV show or whatever, you don't need to bring anything, you plug it in and go direct. And you don't need to scroll through like everything else, like in your fractal or your Kemper
or your quad,
your
right,
quad
right.
or anything like that. Just one thing, it does one thing, and that's it. And the Tech21 guys have stuck with me for so long on it, and now it's done.
That's the pedal to get, and it's not very expensive.
Yeah, I don't want any expensive stuff, man.
I think it's like in the 300s, you know? So that's pretty
tell
awesome.
ya. Yeah.
Very cool. We got this. This is actually really interesting. We got ourselves an Ampeg amp ad, which Lee Jackson was a part of building this. Here's something. Came with a key. So people don't go jumping your amp, taking it, and playing it, the band before you or the band after, because they had to have a key to start it like a car. You ever heard of that?
Does anybody do that?
I don't think it ever happened afterwards, honestly.
Hey, you're using my amp.
Yeah. So now I need a key for it to turn it on, so that way I have the keys, as Michelangelo Obadio would say, to the Lamborghini.
I think that sounds like a nightmare logistically. It probably lasted about one term, and then they said, forget about the keys.
And then it goes,
dude, where's my key? I can't get my gig started.
Is this way? And it says, unlock the power of sound. Zakk Wylde did. Okay, hold up, that's a stretch. Zakk Wylde did in fact play these, but not very long. And here's the kicker about these amps. I did a little research on these amps. Do you know that these amps didn't last very long because apparently they never trimmed the Tolex inside the head, so it was touching the tubes, and majority of them caught on fire.
She knows more about what you're talking about than I do.
They caught on fire, these amps.
She really does.
She knows. I think I told her this story already. Sarah knows all about this. That's right. This is what you were dealing with back then. So I think there's a reason you don't see these particular Ampeg heads really around or picked up steam. They were fire hazards.
How do you pay tribute to one of the greatest guitarists from one of the greatest rock bands of all time?
Tone Arts USA proudly brings to you the ultimate addition to your shred den, the limited edition Super Halen 1x12 stack.
Draped in the pages of a vintage 1990 Van Halen comic book, the Super Halen is a showpiece that can rock like no other.
Handcrafted by Tone Arts master luthier Sam Hill, no two Super Halen amps are the same.
Each cabinet is scientifically crafted with the highest grade materials to give you that monstrous tone that will light up the sky. It's fully loaded with a 12-inch USA-made Green Beret speaker, a total upgrade from the Celestion G12M greenbacks that we've become so accustomed to.
Each cabinet is closed back just like Eddie's, but Tone Arts USA does offer an optional open back if your heart desires.
Visit www.mastersofshred.com now to reserve yours today before you can't get this stuff no more.
Oh, here we go. Wild twang. Got a little Zakk Wylde love. He's got the Rebel flag guitar. Very controversial, unlike most platforms and stores like Guitar Center. I'm not going to take a back step from it. We'll see it's there. You know what the funny thing about that is that Guitar Center will not show you. In their used department, they'll actually sell one. They'll actually list this guitar, but they'll turn it around so you don't see the graphic.
Why?
This is the funny thing to me. That's what I'm saying, because here's the thing. It's not good to show it, but we'll take your money for it.
All right.
So, and there's a lot of that. Anyway, but we got him talking about doing all the cool stuff in the album, and it's funny. This is about when they were looking for producers to do No More Tears, and they said they actually brought in Rick Rubin to do it. Wow. And Rick Rubin wanted to make the heaviest album possible. And he said everything was super, super duper heavy, but Zakk is like, it sounds like we're just making another Black Sabbath album. If I'm going to do that, I'm going to go back with Black Sabbath. I'm not going to do this here. So they got rid of Rick Rubin. But they went through a lot of producers to pull that album off. So a lot of interesting, fun stuff in there for that. And talking about Guitar Heroes, he actually mentioned Yngwie in here before too, which is actually interesting. He said that when Yngwie came out, he said he learned all his stuff. Every guitar player did. And he just thinks that he was doing the whole Guitar Hero thing. But you don't see a lot of that anymore because a lot of people can play just like that now. And it was a big deal then because nobody could do it except Yngwie. But now everybody kind of could. So he started to steer away from playing like Yngwie. Exactly. So has that ever happened where you heard other players and you said, man, that guy's really good. I want to play some of that stuff, but I'm going to back it up because I don't want to take on their characteristics or their styling.
That's never happened to me.
Well, you are Marty Friedman with your own exotic style of
I
playing.
will say, when I was a little kid, my claim to fame was copying Ace Frehley, literally note for note, like perfectly, every little inflection. It was like a bar trick. Hey, this dude can play like Ace Frehley of Kiss. And that was my biggest goal. That's all I wanted to do. In my first band, I played just like Ace Frehley, and that was my big thing. I remember that.
I think John 5 was like that too.
I think a lot of guys were like that, you know,
right?
because I think what Ace Frehley did was he made little songs out of the pedestrian phrases that the previous guitar heroes played. Like everything that you hear Ace do could probably be traced back to Jimmy Page or Eric Clapton or Hendrix or whatever. But those guys would do these long meandering solos. And Ace had like a producer like Eddie Kramer and Paul and Gene in there crafting those things into little sing-along guitar solos. So you'd listen to an Ace Frehley solo as a kid and you're like, I know exactly what song that's from. And that's not something that you could necessarily do with those previous guitar heroes. So if you happen to be like 12, 13, 14 around the time Kiss came out, like these guys that you mentioned, it really had a big impact and it was the first guy to like cleanly play like little sing-songy melodies out of the basic pedestrian pentatonic licks, and it was just so effective back in the day, and it really got me excited about playing guitar. I'm sure those guys would echo that sentiment.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
Yeah.
We got some quad reverb GT from Alesis, still around today. Still doing some cool stuff. Diodario, we got the Riff-Grip. You see so many things for the Gripmaster. The Gripmaster was sold. Have you ever had a Gripmaster?
I wouldn't know what to do with that.
Yeah, I don't know. We always used to say you could get that, or you could just practice.
You could do that, or there's other ways you can exercise your fingers, you know what I mean, by grabbing on something.
There you go. You got that one too, Riff-Grip.
But I'll tell you something that's, well, maybe I'll skip that, yeah.
Oh, what's that?
Well, I just remembered something from back then, but I think it's probably best not to say it.
Are you sure? Okay. Yeah. You positive? Seems like you want to get off your chest.
Well, no. All right, I'll give you something juicy then. You saw that first ad where you had me standing on the chair.
Yeah.
With that's for a Dean Marley guitar strings, excellent guitar strings, and as you can see, this is the time that I just joined Megadeth and things were I was starting to get some mainstream exposure, and I remember doing something. I don't know if it was NAMM or a guitar clinic, but someone from Dean Marley was there. They were sponsoring me, giving me all this stuff, and said, hey, I see you guys are going on tour in the US, and you have like 1 week off. So what do you think about taking that week and doing clinics all up the West Coast? We'll pay for your flights. Okay. It was in that 1 second that I left Dean Marley and I went to Diodario. I've been with Diodario ever since then.
Really?
Best string company in the world.
Wow. So that did it for you.
Like think about this for a second. You're on tour. You're touring all over the place. You're totally busy for like 10 months or whatever. And you have 1 week off. And it's not like, okay, we're going to pay you this, and this, and we're going to do this, and that. No, we'll pay for your flights. So you can take that week off and spend it doing guitar clinics. And I just
with no pay.
He didn't mention anything about pay. And even if it was pay, it's like, that's the 1 week off. So I just looked at the dude like, what are you talking about? And he said, sounds good, yeah. And I'm like, let me think about it. And literally the same week, Diodario became my new string company ever since to this day.
Wow.
And Diodario keeps developing these strings that are better than ever. Mm-hmm. And so it was like one of those lucky things, but I was just shocked. You know what I mean? I was just shocked that is what happened.
It's wild, right? The industry can be a little wild sometimes. The expectations that people put on you without the compensation to the degree and understanding from the circumstances that you're dealing with.
Yeah.
I see that a
lot.
Really,
really kind of like, you know, you try to budget your time a little bit. You're like away from home for a long time.
Yep, yeah.
There's 1 week off. I will never forget that. But like,
we'll fly you out.
But
so you get free tickets.
But those things were a long time ago, and the people at both companies are probably very, very different.
Right.
So it really is no reflection on. I don't even know if they're still a company now.
Well, I think they are still. And you know, you're right, because we've done issues where we go back and see the editors of Guitar World blasting Zakk Wylde, Yngwie, CC DeVille, and that was around the time grunge came in. Are those guys probably with them now? No. But, you know, I'm not going to hold it against them. It was that time. It was that period in time, you know? So I hear you. This is pretty wild. The Triple Giant by Bogner. That thing is rare to find that today. And if you want to be a giant, I think I know we're getting at with that, then, you know, you want to try that big boy out. And that's a very expensive thing if you find one. And then we get into the parts here we're going to teach. We got you and Dave Mustaine right here. Dave said with Marty's solos, he plays with a lot of love. When I solo, I play with a lot of hate. The following is a detailed analysis of their love-hate relationship. Would you agree with that?
That's a wonderful soundbite. One thing I remember about Dave is he's the king of the sound bites. Absolutely the king of it. And at this time, I was like, if this is 1990, I was like maybe less than a year away from being completely homeless. So yeah, I was literally living in people's houses who I didn't know who anybody was. It's all. I wrote a book on autobiography called Dreaming Japanese.
Just came out.
It's all in there. But like, so like right now, I joined the band. I'm finally in a really well-established project. But Dave, even then, just had these great one-liners that looked so good in print. I learned a lot about like saying interesting things in interviews because at that time I had nothing to say. I wasn't eating anything. I didn't care about, I still don't care about current events, but I mean, Dave was up on everything. He had always had interesting things to say, and he was a good interview. Regardless of what you think about what he said, you got a good headline out of it, and that's what the media wants. So I learned a whole lot about that, and even when you read that, I'm like, that sounds very typical, because that's a wonderful soundbite. I'm sure he just routed off the top of his head.
So is there any truth behind that comment, or is it more for show?
I think it's not much of an exaggeration. I do play with a lot of love, and everything I do is a labor of love, and I've been very fortunate that I'm in the position where I can do exactly what I love, and I don't have to compromise. I don't have to change things for record labels. I don't have to change things to get airplay or whatever. I do exactly what I want, and I think that's the ultimate goal for an artist.
Yeah.
To not have like, well, here's the album, but here's the one song the record label wants or whatever. You know, it's very, very truthful. So like what you hear of me is exactly how I want to be represented by. So for better or worse, you might not like it. I can't control whether you do or not. But yeah, I do play with a lot of love in my playing.
Hey everybody, quick reminder, if you want to show your support for the channel, and we'd love it if you would, then make sure to check out our awesome, truly sensational merchandise available at mastersofshred.com. You can choose from this awesome limited edition Crate 1990 shirt or a bunch of cool others that you won't see anywhere else. Check them out. Now back to the show. In one page prior, this should ring a bell to you. Some Hot Licks love, exotic metal guitar with Marty Friedman. Do you remember doing that tape?
I do. That was the first time I ever got paid for playing guitar.
Was it good? Surprised you?
There wasn't very much money, but they flew me out to New York. And I shot the video. I remember that, and it was such a big deal for me because I'd literally made no money from playing guitar up until then.
Wow.
And I think it wasn't much. They gave me a small advance, maybe like $1,000 or maybe less, $500. But that thing went on to sell for decades, and I continued to make money off it.
No kidding.
For forever, yeah. Even now, I'm sure. And then different platforms started selling it.
Yeah, that is great. Huh?
I don't think the content is very good, but like that's where I was at that point, and there's probably a lot of things that are of some interest, but I was just very glad to be working.
It was, you had the CARVIN there too, the V220. You were rocking that. I always liked the V220s, and that was only because you played it.
You're too
I always see it in the ads and stuff like that. You rock it, I'm like, oh, I gotta get one of those. Yeah, very cool. Thanks for that insight on there. Dave gives us a lesson in his picking, his rhythm, magic senses there, and then he kind of hands it off to you. He goes, oh, does he really know how to play guitar? I take a little notes here just in case there's things that I read them to let you know about. Oh, well, he did say about doing these solos and how you know, you want to get all crazy, people want to do that, but he's saying when it comes to soloing, less is more. How many listeners out there really know how to play guitar anyway? So if you play too much, it sounds to them like the guitar player got hornets in his brain. That's good. That's
Is
a
that
good,
Dave?
That's pretty good, yeah.
Yeah, he's got a million of them.
Isn't that great?
You know, I used to admire that very, very much about him. Sometimes I didn't agree with the content of what he was saying, but he sure know how
to verbalize it, right?
Yeah, and it looks good in print. You know what I mean? So
right. It's funny when you said that,
I
and
like that.
he hands it off to you going in here, where you're going to get into your solo technique coming up here now, and they got a little bit of that metal method, which is still around today. Metal method is still around. It's a website. And they're still doing stuff, and Michelangelo Badio's a part of it. So that never ended. And they were in every issue back then. And then we get into what you're going with here and teaching us about some licks and tricks and all that kind of stuff, which I actually have to go over. This looks like it's pretty in-depth. Do you remember doing this?
I don't remember doing that. You know, I've done so many of those things over the years, and it's kind of a necessary evil. But I think the point of looking at this right now, it kind of makes me think that at the time I wasn't really so conscious of it, but Dave really, really has a unique rhythm style that's really his, and it's very important to the sound. And I believe that I have a very unique lead style, and the fact that they very luckily work together, you know, like a watch, you know, I don't know the word in Japanese, you know how the watch things interweave?
Yeah.
They just happen to, like, you know, peanut butter and chocolate, you know, they happen to work out. They could have just as easily clashed and it would have been a dumpster fire. But I think his rhythm playing, I remember when I joined the band, I'm like, this is really, really unique. It was very difficult for me to get to the point where I was confident with it. I never got good at it. I got passable at it. Passable, you know, long enough to play in the band for 10 years, but I never really got good at it. And it's one of those things that it's a person. I can't be that person, and no one can be me when it comes to leads. There's guys who, like, they think, okay, I'll do a half-step bend or something and I'll sound like Marty. No, it's not that simple. Or you can say, well, I can mute this string like this with my palm and I'll sound like Mustaine. No, it's not that simple. It's a lot of very personal choices, lifestyle choices that translate into guitar. And I don't really know how to explain this very well, but you're hearing somebody's life. You're not hearing techniques learned from a book. So I think Dave's playing is very, you hear it the second you hear it, you know it's him. And the same thing goes for my playing. And I think we were lucky that, you know, guitar media and people out there picked up on that back then. Mm-hmm. That I'll say.
Very much so. Every guitar hero is the same thing. When you hear him, it's instantly distinguishable. You know exactly who's playing. Marty Friedman, Zakk Wylde, Eddie Van Halen. Just on the top of my head, Randy Rhoads. I know it's him when I hear it. You know what I mean? So that's a great trait. You don't see that too often today. It's a harder one to come across. Maybe people will say it's all been done. But then again, I'm sure they were saying that back in the 80s before you guys came out, right?
Oh, it's absolutely, definitely not all been done. Definitely not.
So maybe we'll get some more of that.
If you hear that, that just sounds like something a lazy person would say.
Yeah, right.
You only got 7 notes or whatever they say.
Right.
Dude, it hasn't even begun to be all done.
Yep. I hear you. Got some Crate Love, as we mentioned earlier. Yeah. They're going into the tube game here now. Talk about their tube amps. You're going in-depth length on this one, too, which is so great to see.
It's always wrong, though. Never believe anything. You know, never believe it. Use your ears.
Yeah?
You know, I wouldn't... Maybe use that stuff as like a starting point, but it's never, ever right. When you're talking about a guy with, like, their own style... But if you're talking like a teacher, the way a teacher would play with everything correct and alternate picking and here are the notes and boom, there you go. But like the way I play, you know, it's some of that stuff would be considered very wrong and not the optimum for whatever reason people are trying to optimize their playing. But it's never even close to right, but you might get a good start.
Well, I think you actually said that in here too, is don't try to learn this all note for note, because what makes a good guitar player is doing it your own way and expressing yourself through it, which I think you actually did mention some terms in there like that. So very cool. Got some Warwick bass ads in here. Dixie Chicken, here comes some Zakk Wylde finger picking country licks. country metal stuff in there, as he would like to say. All in the detail. He's got a telly, which we didn't really see. Only time I saw him with a telly was when he was doing Mark Weiss's wedding, and he was playing guitar, and Kevin DuBrow was singing. It's pretty wild.
Zakk's a player, man. The first time I met him, he was playing like country music, like backstage. His tech was my previous tech, and he introduced me to him. He was just sitting around playing like country music, and I'm like, man, this dude's a real player.
Really?
I was impressed very much.
That is awesome. Wow. Yeah. A little bit of I Don't Want to Change the World in here, some licks, and again, more learning. The enthusiasm for playing guitar was ginormous. Everyone wanted to get good, wanted to get better. Got some more of this coming up here, so I can again pay some respect to this man. As people said, I went over him, Johnny Winter, giving you a great little lesson here as well. May have to listen to just a little bit more. GIT. Gotta love the ads, more enthusiasm, some DiMarzio full tilt ads. And let's see here. I'm gonna kind of skim back here. Here we go, some Danny Spitz of Anthrax. Do you know what he does today?
I'm not familiar.
You ever meet Danny back then?
I'm sure like when Megadeth played with Anthrax, but we kind of were like in our separate little bubble, so I don't really know the members too well.
He is actually a trained Swiss watch maker and highly world-renowned repairman for high-end Swiss watches out in Delray Beach, Florida.
No kidding.
Yep, trained in Switzerland. So, but after that, he got out of Anthrax, went into that, and
Smart man.
done very well for himself and built some really gorgeous watches. Very cool. So I saw that, I'm like, what? And here we go, Kurt Mitchell. I think I got his name right. You remember Kurt Mitchell? He did all the tapes back in the day, too. And we actually covered this. He did Ozzy's Hitmen, and then he had to do Nirvana begrudgingly because they came out and people wanted to know how to play it. And he's like, well, it's not very hard to play this stuff. I'm going to teach you anyway. You could tell he was not enthusiastic.
Hey, work is work.
Work is work. Very good stuff here.
No shame in that.
Guitar Visions. This is a premiere issue. I never heard of that one. Video library. So many video series you could get. Some more Dickie Pet's lessons. Paul Reed Smith ads. We'll kind of just pick this up. Oh, here we go. Some Vinnie Moore. He got his album come out with the Hartfield Talon Fenders. Did you ever get your hand on one of those back in the day? Probably not, right? So it's a weirder one. You see him pop up. Kind of weirder guitars, but Fender was going for that shred thing hardcore. And they were giving that a stab with that. Roto Sound, Duff McKagan, Yamaha. They teamed up with Mike Soldano and put out the Yamaha T100C, which holds some value today. There's not a lot out there, but it was the way to get your nice Soldano for the money in a smaller budget, right? You ever play Soldanos? You a Soldano guy?
No.
Engl is your thing, and they sound freaking awesome.
Engls are just the best.
They're nasty sounding amps.
Playing
They're really
like
good.
Decade plus, maybe 2 decades, and never had a problem once.
They have a signature amp for you, right?
Yes, sir. It's
That's
called
right.
the Inferno.
I remember because I think a couple years ago, when you had Jordan Ziff playing with you,
Yeah.
I went to see you guys in Anaheim around NAMM time, and you had the whole amp set up, like a wall of them. It was just beautiful amps. I'm like, man, that is gorgeous. Yeah, that is sick. Very cool. And more tapes. What do you know? Good lord. And then we go to the 10-hour workout from Steve I. That's always got to be interesting. And he went into all his licks, and I mean, it goes. It looks like a 10-hour. It's a 10-hour. I didn't get a chance to go through all of it. There's a little bit of thoroughbred music. They're at Tampa, very big. They purchased Dean Guitars, believe it or not. There's a music store out there. A little bit of this, some pig nose stuff. This is a pretty cool one. Anatomy of a Guitarist. So you got all your mega hits in there, and then you can probably tell what all these came from. A little fun poster, I thought. Randy Rhoads stuff, all sorts of. Where's your stuff in here? There's something on you in here. I see that Jackson in here, or your crate. I don't think the crate ad happened yet. I think that was coming. Some Hamer love. George Lynch. He was in so many guitar magazines back in the day for pickups, with Lynch Mob, for Dawkins. Crazy. You ever come across George Lynch in the wild?
Maybe back in the day, I don't remember.
Okay. Yeah.
I know he's a good player.
Yeah. Got some more Johnny Winter. They give us a lot of Johnny Winter love. Got some Sam Ash. God rest their souls. Kind of with us still. They closed last year, but they're all online now.
I did something with them like last year. Maybe something happened after I made them destroy their stores after I played in there.
Maybe that's what it was.
don't
You were the
know.
last performer to walk through their doors.
No kidding.
Yeah,
They were very nice.
They closed down all locations, so now they're physically all online. And when I spoke to them, they said, "Listen, anything you want, you let us know. We won't charge you sales tax." Beat that, Sweetwater. Okay. I'm like, well, that's a good thing to remember. Bartoloni pickups, more the Zakk Wylde ad. We're going to go fast here. Hard Key System, some love for Red Hot Chili Peppers, the albums of the time, John Lee Hooker, Buddy Guy, some Tascam love, and Vinnie Moore's album, Meltdown, coming out there. And let's see here. Rockhouse is another one. They're pumping the tapes out, hardcore. RPM, again, the teaching. Like, how much real estate they got in here for that? Some EMGs. Cash paid. Get top money. One instrument, entire collection. Norman's Rare Guitars. Even back then. You ever been to Norman's? No? Okay, so they just did a special on Netflix. Really good video. Everybody's been going there since like the 80s, I think.
Wow.
But historical place. Joe Bonamassa goes in there all the time. All these players go in there. And very cool guitars. Vito Bratta, thoughts?
You're asking me so many guys I don't know, man.
No.
I am admiring your knowledge of every single thing in there. It's absolutely blowing my mind. It's like you
Sorry,
know
let's take
everything
it.
about everything in there. It's really blowing my mind. I think we need more people like you in the world of music. We do, because
Historians.
I mean, you could probably do the same thing with something right now, right? You're that knowledgeable.
You give me some car stuff. I could
Yeah.
do that. Maybe some watches, some TV shows, 90s, 80s music.
No, I'm talking about like
Yes.
if you were to take the same magazine now,
Oh, yeah.
and you could go through it in the same way you did. You're like an encyclopedia.
I could tell you some things.
I'm sure you could.
Now, how factual they are is a different story. But I can tell you some
He's
things.
making this all up as we go.
Exactly. We're rewriting history
Oh yeah,
on
these
this show.
Morleys were fantastic.
That's exactly right. Oh, look whose name is on there. Jason Becker.
Well, if he played it, then it must be great.
I went to the Morley. This is actually a true story. No, they're all true. But I went to the Morley factory when I was living inside Chicago, and I saw all their promotional material they had from the 80s and 90s. They had a pencil holder with Zakk Wylde's picture on it and Jason Becker.
How cool
I
is
said,
that?
wait, Jason Becker playing it and Zakk Wylde? They said yes. So very cool to see that kind of stuff. And they're still killing it. Vito has his CARVIN love. We'll love to see Vito come out. Dean Marley love. Oh, more Dean Marley. I don't know. The soft touch of hard rock. Now I'm thinking different about these guys.
Think different about them. No, don't
Sorry,
think different.
guys.
They're
Oh, no,
probably
okay.
a fantastic company now, and it was probably just that one rep who just didn't word the words correctly. And I was probably thinking, who do you think you're talking to? I've been on a major label now for 8 months now. I was probably all big in the head at the point. But still, I wasn't going to take a week off and just,
Yeah.
you know.
I'm going to do that, right? Which is true. They got Rat 8191 album coming out. So they were putting out a greatest hits album already in the early 90s, which you don't see a lot of bands doing that. When they have like a good solid 10 years, oh, we're going to hit a greatest hits right now. Rat did it. Oh, yeah, sure. And I wore that CD out as a kid, I'm not going to lie. And the cassette tape, maybe. Throw that out there. We got some more travel guitar stuff, SP series amps. Again, the way this goes, you see something pops up. Performance guitars, they're out of Hollywood. The Dweezil guitars and Steve Vai's guitars, still there today, building. Great guitars. Thought that was pretty cool. The Shy Slide goes in the joint of your finger, so it won't take up your whole hand, so you can still
Oh, that's
write
brilliant.
notes, right?
That's brilliant.
So guess what? Dunlop bought that. Dunlop sells that now. I looked at it, I'm like, wait, does this exist? It exists, and the reviews are horrible. People do not like it. They said it's the most awkward thing, and it's a love-hate relationship. I think I might actually love that, because I've had that problem where I want to pick or shred, but do a slide in the middle for rhythm, and I can't do it without taking it off. So, could be good.
That's what beer bottles are for.
There you go. That too. More love for the Yamahas. We got ourselves some more just ads here, some more good stuff. They really packed it in. Every little thing they can get their hands on real estate-wise. Let's see here. Acorn Warmoth, still kicking it today. Aluminum picks. Brad Gillis used a little bit of aluminum picks from right on this. He may still actually do that. Trading licks. And then we're going to some tabs. We got our tabs. You got Looks That Kill. Not going to go through that. All Parts, still with us today. Tommy the Cat. A little bit of Primus love in there. And, okay, here we go. Here we go. Getting into the ads. I actually looked them up. Dingwall Guitars. All they make today are basses, but I'm happy to see they're still around. Some of these brands you never hear from again. Let's see, some more ads. Travel guitars. That's what you've been always wanting. The 14-karat solid gold guitar pendant.
Do you ever meet a guitar player who has one of those?
Never.
That's the gift that you do not want to receive.
I think there's a reason we don't see these anymore today, at least in the back of the guitar magazines. Or maybe they're still there and the price went up. But yeah, you don't usually see that. But very, I guess, popular, maybe. We got some ads. We got some more vintage. We got Gruhn Guitars. We want to buy your used guitars. Gruhn's out here. You ever been to Gruhn?
Actually, the first time I thought, I was such an idiot. The first time I had any money that I could, you got to understand, I was homeless for so long. So when I started making some money, I thought, what do people with money do? Oh, they buy old guitars. Oh, we're in Nashville, we're at Gruhn's. So I go in there and I bought a guitar, I don't know, vintage guitars from a hole in the wall. I bought a Gretsch, it was nice, and that was the end of it.
You still have it?
No, that one, I don't even remember. I think I traded it to somebody, or it's just not me, man. I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to do with the, well, what if people do, you know, what they spend money on, so I just
You took a stab at it. You tried it.
I tried.
Nothing wrong with that. And more some ADA love. We talked about them. And more ads. And then look at that. We just reviewed the 1991 December issue of Guitar World with the mighty Marty Friedman.
What a neat concept that was.
You like it, right?
Yeah.
Pages in Time. Pages in Time. I've been wanting to do this for so long, you have no idea. And then last year, with the help of Sarah, we just went out and kicked it off. And I called everybody. I'm like, guys, come over to the house. If you're in town, let's do this. Because I'm happy to see people get as much a kick out of this, going back and revisiting this, as I do. Now, we got to talk about some other stuff, though, real quick to end this off, because you got a lot going on. We're here on the Drama Tour latest solo album, and you put out Dreaming Japanese book, which my copy was supposed to come today via Amazon, and they're going to make me wait till about 6:30, so I'm really bummed, because I wanted to have it here to talk about it with you, and didn't work out. But very cool stuff. What do you got planned for the rest of 2025?
A lot of stuff. We're going to get through America, finish it out the end of this month, and then as soon as I get back to Japan, I'm going to play the opening ceremony for the Tokyo Marathon, which will be my 6th or 7th year in a row doing that, and it's just such an honor to do that.
Wow.
And then I'm playing with my band in Japan. We're doing like 2 festivals and some one-off gigs in March and April, and then we're touring China in May. And then I'm going to Brazil to do a bunch of shows with Kiko Loureiro in Brazil. And after that, my band is going to tour all over South America. So this is going to be the first time my permanent real band, this is the Marty Friedman band. This is not Marty Friedman and a bunch of musicians. This is the Marty Friedman band, and we're doing the entire continent of South America. A lot of places I've never played before, a lot of places I have played before. And so that's going to be in June. And then after that, I'm going to be touring Japan with a Japanese artist in July. And after that, hopefully, fingers crossed, a bigger and better tour of America for Drama Part 2, for all the cities that we missed.
It's going to be epic. And now, where can everybody follow you on Instagram?
Instagram, yeah, all that, X and Facebook, all those social media places. Billy for China. Lately, things have just been blowing up. I did a Chinese New Year program. Not for the Chinese New Year, but for New Year's in China. And it kind of has been a really big thing. And all of a sudden, a lot of things have been happening for me in China as well. So I'm going to be going there a lot. So Billy is there, YouTube.
Wow.
So you can find a lot of weird stuff on there that you've never seen elsewhere.
Yeah, I've seen that kind of stuff with videos, especially videos that here have been like blocked in the States.
Right.
I had to go hunt, like you wouldn't believe, to find footage at SNL with Skid Row playing on there in like the early 90s.
Yeah.
And I had to get a guy in Russia that reached out and said, guess what? We got it here. I downloaded it, here's the video, and it worked.
That's good.
And I'm like, oh my gosh, now we have it, but we didn't have it. They'll block certain things from ever being seen here. So I can only imagine the cool old footage we got out there on Billy.
Yeah.
Now, to make this official, you got to do your John Hancock to sign off right there.
Certainly. Who shall I sign it to?
Oh, if you want to sign it to me, you could. That's cool. My name's Derek Masters.
How do you spell it?
Or Derek.
You got to ask.
Yeah, that's true. But we just like to see that it's approved. We saw this.
We saw this. We did it.
He gives his John Hancock. He's been through this.
It's a great concept.
I'm happy you appreciate
great
it.
concept.
Pages and Times. If you guys like this channel, do us a favor, subscribe to it. It's the easiest way to show your support without ever having to open your wallet. But if you do want to open your wallet to show your support, head over to mastershred.com, check out our exclusive merchandise, check out the Super Halen amp, hand-built in Nashville, Tennessee, only 50 available. Thank you guys. Follow us at Masters of Shred on Instagram, Mr. Shred Official. Thank you for watching. And if you have magazines like this, Guitar for the Practicing Musician, Guitar World, and you want to give it a good home where it will live on forever, do us a favor and write us at info@mastersofshred.com or shoot me a DM on Instagram. We'd like to give them a new home. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you to Marty
Derek.
Friedman.
All right, I'm afraid to shake your hand because I have to play later.
Oh, nah, yeah, we don't want to do that. Take care, guys. Thanks for watching.